these were the ones that were hired in February. We also had separations of employment. Again, these are the ones from February. We currently have an employee count of 413. Our current open positions, we currently have a deputy coroner, excuse me. The economic development and marketing coordinator position, that would be under the one that you just approved. We have human services social worker, ADRC, human services economic support specialist. We have an intern for GIS, an intern for land and water, along with a conservation specialist. We're looking for a parks intern. The sheriff's department is looking for a full-time correctional officer and a part-time. And then we are still looking for our nursing home and assisted living home administrator. So if anyone is aware of anyone that would be willing to apply, we have also posted an interim position as well, on an interim basis. Still looking for an activities assistant for Vernon Manor, and then an intern for zoning and sanitation. So there's a lot of those interns that you're seeing posted. So if you know of any college students that are going for any of those fields, feel free to reach out to them and let them know that we do have those openings. These are the current Vernon Manor nursing needs listed below. This is the report that I received from them. And then what they are currently hiring for agency staff, or currently have for agency staff. Any questions?
CNAs, is it 18 and above to be a CNA?
No, 16.
16 in the state?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we do currently have the highest wage around for CNA.
Michelle,
Yes,
for the interns, do they have to be college students or can they be anybody?
it depends on the role. Yeah. And then it also depends on their age. And each department kind of has their own requirements, but it is on the job description whether or not they have to be.
It'd be just kind of interesting to put that into the high school so that they could say,
Yes,
hey,
that
I
is.
might be interested in this.
That is our intent, is to put it out there. We just kind of, in some of the positions, it's preferred to have a college student because they have that background, depending what year they are. But if we can't, then we are willing to extend it to high school students if it's appropriate. We have had high school students at Land and Water previously. So, yeah. Do you know someone that's interested?
Yes.
But have them reach out to me.
Thank you, Tricia. Anybody else have questions for Tricia? Okay, IT. Connor is up.
I'm sure. Okay.
All right, good morning. First and foremost, I'm pleased to announce that we have hired and filled our help desk support specialist role. The individual we hired is Eric Gladhammer. Eric is sitting over there. I'd like to introduce all to Eric. Do you have anything to add or say to the committee?
Sure. I'm from Minnesota, so I grew up locally. I'm coming from Darrell into Power Cooperative in a similar role. So, yeah, happy to be here.
You have a great last name.
What is it?
I thought it was, I read that, yeah, that was a great last name.
I thought maybe you were a platinum.
I just finally, I think it's a great last name.
I just curious.
We're very pleased to have Eric here. He'll be assisting all the departments as all of the IT members do. And yeah, we're very happy to have them. Help desk report. This report is reflective on the month of February that just concluded. So looking at the help desk report, we had 267 tickets open in the month of February. In comparison, in the month of February last year, we had 261. So similar comparison there. Reflective of what the ticket count was as of the end of January, we had 250. So a slight uptick, but to be expected. Help desk by category, 72% sat in the software related category, 75 or 7.5% sat in the hardware related category, 6.5 were phone related issues, 9.8 were employment, and 4.2 were uncategorized. New office creations and office moves. We had 0 office moves and 3 office creations in the month of February, mainly setting up our positions that were approved for the 2024 year position headcount. We have 19 tickets outstanding. That leaves our help desk health meter for the month of February in good standing. We have 7.2% open, 92.8% closed. Our 2024 device replacement progress has just begun. We have 5 devices out of 60 slated and completed for replacement in the 2024 device replacement progress. Some cybersecurity metrics to share. The organization set at 27.9% risk score. Again, that's reflective of what we've seen in past months. We'd like to see it under that 20% threshold, but 27 is not a terrible number there. 9 failed phishing attempts in the month of February, which is within 3 of what we normally see. Other metrics to report on, we have 0 devices out for repair, and our cumulative system uptime for the month of February sat at 96.552. That concludes the help desk report. Department report. We have a lot on the docket, a lot of irons in the fire. I'll make it brief and snappy as possible. Our PSAP project update. We met yesterday with the state of Wisconsin, AT&T, and all the other parties involved. Everything is in good standing, and we have a clear vision on where we're at to get that implemented. The state of Wisconsin and AT&T are working together right now, and they have about 4 weeks of implementation period there to get the EZNet circuits established, and then they'll send someone on site to set those circuits up as well at the sheriff's office. After that is concluded, we have about 4 weeks that will commence after that. That is a bunch of testing and training. After that has taken place, we can start to find a date to cut over and go live with our next Gen 911. So we're looking at an estimated cut over and go live date of early May. New phone system throughout the county. That has been a big project on our docket as well. The RFP was released on February 12th. It's been open this time. Vendors had until March 1st to submit any questions they had in relation to the RFP. I have until this Friday to answer those questions for those vendors. And then the bids are due back and to be received by me by March 12th. Once we've received all the bids by the end of March 12th, we will evaluate all those and communicate with the vendors to set up a time for a demonstration for county personnel and board members alike to evaluate those systems. Once we have gone through all the demonstrations, we'll find a solution that is equitable for Vernon County, and then we will award that solution on April 19th.
Do those have to come here at all, like the RFP process? I just don't know.
We typically do. We
Yeah.
typically bring them to home committee for review and award.
So for the April meeting, that will be on our agenda?
I don't know how we're handling this yet, and I don't know how it's traditionally been handled as far as the April meeting, because the April meeting is our reorganization.
No, I meant more our Gen Gov meeting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. What you're saying though is March 19th, Connor?
April 19th,
April 19th, which means,
which I selected that
After the
date
board
because it gave us enough time if we needed to bring this through general government or the board.
so it would be in May.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Carry on.
After a solution is awarded, it's estimated to be between 6 and 10 weeks of implementation. So after an award, about 6 to 10 weeks to get a new phone system countywide. No. So we're looking at, probably July, August timeframe for realistic timeline. I'm excited to announce that after a diligent process working with the federal government, we have been officially awarded the domain vernoncountywi.gov. So this is the domain that Vernon County will migrate and move to. That'll be part of our website redesign. So when we release our new website for the public, it'll be a landing page of vernoncountywi.gov. Our email addresses will all change to vernoncountywi.gov, as well as any other public-facing services, such as our GIS portals, zoning and permitting, etc. Our ERP solution, or ERP financial resource planning solution, however you want to categorize that, is on track. Contracts were signed, and we've started the engagement process with Tyler Technologies, but we're still on the early stages of getting that implemented. Bobby has been working diligently on getting account structures and working with department heads on that. Our HR core solution, HRIS, and our timekeeping and payroll side of the house is in the works currently. We had our kickoff call. We've had subsequent calls. IT has been working with Tyler on setting up framework, and we're currently, they have our solutions deployed. So the SaaS solutions are up and running. We're still working on them with some underlying IT framework and getting accounts and credentials and everything where they need to be before we can move into the next steps. And the next steps will be really, building the solution, data setup, field mapping, and data migration. So we look forward into moving those next steps probably within 30 to 45 days here. Our website redesign is in progress as well. Contracts were signed. We had a website kickoff call with our website provider Revise on the 27th of last month. Our website committee met with Revise at that time, and we went through some preliminary website framework, what we want to see in the website, and some design criteria there. We have a project manager and a website designer assigned to us that will be working with us diligently through this redesign process. The website committee currently meets on a monthly basis, but we look to kick that up to maybe a bi-weekly basis or bi-monthly basis as the process unfolds here. We'll definitely need more bandwidth. New positions, as Tricia mentioned, we have a new DHS child support position that was hired. IT has the office set up and everything is good to go there. The land and water position has yet to be hired, if I'm not mistaken there. But the office setup is good to go there. Veterans did their remodel and we have an office position or office setup rectified there. The new HR generalist is all set up to go. Our new IT on board is good to go. So we've been busy getting all the new hires office spaces set up, but we have completed all of those physical spaces that staff will reside in. Replacement cycle. We have all of our equipment in-house and receipted for the 2024 replacement cycle. So it's just a matter of diligently working to get all of those implemented and deployed throughout the county throughout the year. So that will be a year-long process. In the sheriff's office, they received a new body-worn cam, dash cam, public safety administration fleet of cameras and surveillance equipment there. The installation has been completed. It's in production, and we're working on a few things to make that solution a little bit better, as with APIs and integrations to their case management system and their overall Pro Suite solution to get tagging and proper retention policies solidified there. Our enhanced email filtering was rolled out countywide on March 12th. The implementation went well, and we have seen a large reduction of spam and junk emails throughout the county there. And we staff get reports weekly if they have any emails that were held from their inbox. If they find value in any of those emails or they were expecting communications, they're instructed to reach out to the help desk with the UUID number. We'll evaluate that email. If found safe, we'll release it to the inbox. But we have seen a lot of reduction in our mail flow there. Broadband expansion, I don't have an update to convey further than what I conveyed last month, but if anyone is interested, UW Extension, the state, myself, and a few other integral parties will be hosting a workshop Tuesday, April 16th from 9 to 4 a.m. at the Sheriff's Department training room. Other than that, standard order of business. That's all I have to report.
Questions for Connor?
Good report.
It was a good report. Yeah, big project. I appreciate
Lot on the
you
dock.
keeping it.
Yep.
So we can understand.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Connor. I don't know how to run a computer, so I'll sit over here.
All right, buildings and facilities. First up, RFP for refuse and recycling services for county facilities.
No worries. I think I brought enough copies for everybody. We changed kind of the way we do our pickup for what we're doing now in an effort to save money long-term. We're pretty confident it'll work that way. You can see the prices and proposals offered from GFL, Big Hook, and Town and Country. But
Hold on one second. Mary Bringy, do you have this in front of you?
No.
No, I do not.
Tisha is going to
Sending it right
scan
now.
and send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Landfill didn't.
Wait, what'd you say, Oli?
Landfill asked if they put a bid on.
Yeah, I mean, it's still strange to me that we're not like bidding ourselves.
They would have had to purchase stuff to do it this way.
You don't have the equipment.
We
you know,
have the equipment. We would have had to purchase some dumpsters going right through here, a 2-yard general trash dumpster at $80 each a week. Them don't even hold a ton. Our disposal rate is $60. They don't even hold a ton of garbage. The clean cardboard, you got one at no charge, which is fair because they sell it. The other one gets delivered to the county facilities and we could sell it. The 4-yard trash dumpster at Vernon Manor, $288 each month. How many tons is that? $60. There's not that many tons of garbage coming out of any of these facilities. These facilities all produce recyclables, not garbage. It could be done by the county. The reason Stacy is not here, she's just, her last proposal she felt was just, whitewashed and throw it under the rug. So she's like, and I told her not to even bother because if she felt she was wasting her time, and she felt like she was wasting her time, her idea with these little buildings that got laughed at because you couldn't buy them for $1,200, go on Suncap's products. They've got beautiful little buildings that you could set right up next to your building. It wouldn't be an ugly dumpster. They're $368.
So what are you saying, Lauren? You want the county to?
I would like the county to do, because we never even got this at solid waste. We never even got this proposal. We just got a blah, that's the original one. Now that I see this, it would be a whole lot easier for everybody to bid.
So my memory, which I could be wrong, was that this committee wanted it to go for solid waste to create a proposal, right? And then the next meeting, it came that it was decided not to do a proposal.
But solid waste did not decide that. It never came to our committee.
Okay, so, and that's like, is my committee remembering it that way too? And then now this came because the last meeting, it was stated that the county didn't want to put a proposal in, but now I hear the county does want to put a proposal in.
I think we could do it so, and this doesn't even include land and water. There's no bid for land and waters.
we have the numbers. This is the brunt of what we do in town.
The land and water was $8,000 last year. And it's not even included on this. And land and water, I talked to their people. They used to bring it right out to the recycling for like no cost. The guy who loads it up in his pickup and takes it out of the trash can and brings it to dumpsters. He could bring it to a centrally located dumpster. He could bring it out to the landfill for hardly any cost at all. He used to do that. The parks person used to do that. And I don't know why it got stopped. Well, that guy got in a little trouble. And when they moved it around, it was no longer his responsibility. But, I'm not sure Vernon would want to do that. I talked to him about it. He's got the bandwidth.
Oh, from the parks themselves.
From the parks department.
I see.
Instead of 8,000 right there, that could be almost a no at cost thing. And, the recyclables are all saleable. The recyclables could be picked up from the county at no cost.
Mary, you had a question?
I wanted to ask Phil, okay, so did you put this out for RFP or did you just ask for quotes?
No, we did the way with our present services, the way we do them now. I put that out. I got replies from everybody. And then it was brought up by two of the haulers that if we wanted to change the way we operate, we could do it cheaper. In the past, we did smaller dumpsters. The dumpsters got over full on occasion, not every week, but on occasion. So that's why we went to the way we do it now, because we just want a big dumpster. So no chance of them overfilling, make sure we get the lid shut, that sort of thing. But with the competitive nature of the haulers, they were fine with doing smaller dumpsters, doing more pickups. And so that's what these numbers are. And that's why I didn't include land and water parks dumpsters, because them are based on, basically pick up at least once a month, or if they have an event down there and they get full, then they call and then they get them picked up.
Mhm.
And that's we've done in the past here too. That's why we went to the bigger dumpsters. This quote here is for smaller dumpsters, is that we had occasion at Vernon Manor, wherever, if we had a social event at the park and some garbage got put in our dumpsters, where the dumpsters were overfull, we couldn't get the lid shut. So then that's why we went with the bigger dumpsters. But this now here, as you notice, would be smaller dumpsters than we presently have.
Okay, so why didn't you, you didn't quote for the larger dumpsters like we currently have?
We did.
Oh, and have we seen those numbers?
Yep, I got them. I didn't print them out because this here saved us money.
Okay,
For the larger dumpsters, I got one sheet. If you want to pass that around? This is what we do now at present.
and looking at what you have on the sheet that you had presented to us, in your analysis of what you think is needed for all of these facilities, what is your recommendation?
This way here saves us money. If people, the smaller dumpsters, if people do their due diligence and we do the recycling as we have been doing, because a lot of the dumpsters, when we pick them up now, they're half full.
Mhm.
So we have that ability to make the size of our dumpster smaller. If people keep going the paths they are, I would recommend the smaller dumpster and a more timely pickup. That helps with smells and potential for critters to be here and there. If people change the way they operate, as they've done in the past, then, we need bigger dumpsters. And these are all, and I won't speak for them because I'm not affiliated with it. When they've been having their monthly events down at Land and Water at Sidey Hollow, obviously that particular week, they collect a lot more garbage and stuff, but they're generally pretty good about recycling. So it may be such a thing where you have to make a phone call and say, hey, when you're in the neighborhood, can you pick up that dumpster special? And we'll just get an added charge because it's out of the cycle, the loop. I'm a fan of small dumpsters. I mean, they're less obtrusive, less all the above, but if they get to a point where they're over full.
And are all of these small dumpsters that are on the sheet that you presented, do they have lids on them? Okay. Do the county dumpsters have lids on them?
The ones we have now are front load. I don't know if you got any out there with dumpster rear loads, or, how he's gonna, and that was Stacy and I sat down and had a discussion about this, and she wanted more time to look at it. I'm assuming she was pricing dumpsters and that sort of thing. But I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a front load.
No, she told us at the last meeting
Right.
that you didn't have the equipment to do dumpsters that had lids on them.
And I define equipment as dumpsters. They've got the machinery to do it.
Okay,
They didn't have the type of dumpsters that we needed to do it.
okay, thank you.
So that was a big, I don't want to say concern, but maybe a concern that we wouldn't be able to have the right dumpsters to be able to facilitate.
That's what these little buildings that I was telling you about would be, the dumpster. And they would have a lid on them. They're the size that you can park your riding lawnmower in. They're about 4 or 5 foot tall. The front half of it rolls back and you can throw the garbage in. The front doors open up so you can carry the garbage back out. You can set your cardboard in there. You could come up with a system of recyclables in clear plastic bags and the garbage in a black bag. And, you could be, there's not that many, there's not that much garbage coming out of here. A few steak bones and a Quick Trip wrapper, that's garbage. The rest of it's recyclable. All the paper, all the cardboard, all the glass, all the plastic, it's all recyclable. And that's money that is it's income.
And I'm not arguing the point, but I'm just stating the point, and I think I stated it last meeting, with the buildings, that we had staff issues with it when we went around and talked to staff, and the concerns of possibly, because in the years past, if the custodians, based on their time, they cleaned out at certain times where we actually had some garbage, when you cleaned up in the hallway, potentially that garbage got put in a storage room for the night. And then that created odor issues, staffing issues, so talking to the building staff and the custodial staff, they weren't fans of the buildings and storing it that way. And then with the amount of refuse that comes from Vernon Manor, there was real concerns about the sanitary issue of it, and where they're going to put them. And Vernon Manor spent a substantial amount of money on that back portion of the building to do things the way they do it. And like I say, it's you folks' decision, but I'm just relaying what the staff and their concerns were about changing the way we operate, because we went doing the things the way we do now, regardless of the hauler, to meet all these needs that we felt we needed to meet.
Committee. It looks like GFL has the lowest bid here, is that correct? And
No, two surcharge.
Nope.
They do that sometimes in the bills.
And these prices are for a year, and it's based on the landfill rates. And I think there's a $5 diesel fuel from the one supplier. The diesel fuel goes above $5. You'd have to make an addendum to it.
okay, so looking at what's in front of us, GFL is the lowest price.
Mhm.
Do they currently have these contracts with us only with larger dumpsters, correct?
Yes.
They got park.
Which is this one?
But
It's this one.
The larger dumpster. Okay.
Big Hook's tonnage would be coming to the Vernon County. GFL's goes out unless there's road bans on, then they come to our facility. The cardboard goes to Vernon County with Big Hook. There's no charge for either one of them, but the cardboard comes to Vernon County that we would sell.
So I think if I hear what you're saying, if we were to go with Big Hook or whatever, if we were to go with Big Hook, it would also generate revenue
It would
for,
generate revenue for Vernon County.
But I talked to Mike himself, and the co-mingling will go to La Crosse.
But you wouldn't have to commingle. You could self-source here very easily.
Well, he could. But because I asked, they don't have a facility, Town and Country. GFL have the recycling facilities. So, and I asked him just for clarity, when he said he was talking to GFL and La Crosse for a place where he's co-mingled. If we, because that was part of the discussion last month and potentially the month before, whether or not we were staying with co-mingled or single source or whatever it's called. And
we do have single source containers already. Vernon County has them.
Should we have postponed this for this till next month to have Vernon County look at this?
Well, think about that now. Think about what the staff time's going to cost.
to what?
To what?
Who's picking up the garbage?
Vernon County would pick.
Right, what's the staff time?
I talked to their haulers and they said they have plenty of time to do that.
Well, if they have plenty of time, when we talked about the PTO and the extended leave balances and stuff, there was concern that they might have to add staff if that was taken into account. So I specifically asked I asked Stacy when she was here if they had time, and she said yes, just as you're saying.
Yeah.
But then when we got to the extended leave balances and the PTO, then the discussion was, oh my gosh,
There was a whole lot of time.
yes. Mm-hmm. So then there could be issues in some months. Alexanne, you used to have a look on your face.
Just thinking, that's just my thinking. Look, there's a part of me with this, I'm not sure what to do about this part. This, we're trying to be an example for slowing down waste, and should we be showing people how to recycle more? Like, I'm just kind of struggling on, for me, it's the same as with like the county farm. We wanted to showcase like good conservation practices. So if we want to showcase like good recycling practices, should that be something we are doing? So this commingled or single, that's what my I was having a battle with myself because there is a convenience to commingled
We
recycling,
used to do
for sure.
that. And like I say, we had, that would now be my staff going through the recycling to put it in the right containers. And if you remember, Vernon Manor used to have a pickup, and Ole, you're well aware of this, that they used to put the garbage in a pickup, haul it down by the old barn to get it away from the buildings, and put it in dumpsters down there, which we had time because they didn't want the open dumpsters and the stink and that stuff next to the house. So that's why we went to the 2 times a week, and then we eventually went to 3 times a week to alleviate that problem.
I mean, I think that there's a convenience to commingled recycling. So, but that was what you saw me struggling with on myself.
And that's why we went to it. I mean, it just simplified the thing. We had less of buildings facility staff involved in it. And Vernon Manor was dancing in the street because they've only got 2 people that do that sort of thing. And with staff shortages and all the above, they didn't want to get into a sanitary issue with the type of waste they produce. And so that's why we made these transitions to get to where we are.
Dave, any thoughts?
As far as I can recall, we were all kind of wondering why Vernon County couldn't take care of their own garbage back a while. It sounds like the Lauren seems to think that we can. I'd like to exhaust that avenue first.
And the other thing you can consider is that if Vernon County decided to charge Vernon County $1 million for this project, it's still Vernon County's money.
They get high bidder though, wouldn't it?
I mean, the money stays in the
It's
system.
always a first.
Cassie, did you want to?
Just an item to note, this was on our January infrastructure committee meeting for discussion when it was decided to put out for bid rather than do it ourselves. So we did have
So it
this
did go
discussion in
through
infrastructure.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
And buying the buildings, staff time to erect buildings, prepare sites for buildings, all of that has to come into consideration. And we're dealing with a 1-year contract here. And I don't know, I don't know what the costs are or what is being paid for cardboard in that. And I don't know if the differences in these quotes is high enough, too high, in terms of what we would recoup for that amount. You had said that the rate for the county was like $60 and the rate for some of these are 75 and 80 and whatever, but the bottom line is $15 for 4 yards of trash, whatever, that, will you get that back in the amount of garbage from that or amount of cardboard that would be sold there? So,
I guess unless you know the actual tonnage,
yeah. And what you're going to get paid.
you kind of know what you're going to get paid, but the prices fluctuate.
Yes, that's what I meant, because the price fluctuates, you don't know.
Cardboard is very, very high.
Okay.
As far as staff time, you've got your different categories of recycling. And if you drink 1 or 2 bottles of pop a day, and you take your bottle of pop or your can of pop, and you either put it in this can or in this can, it takes the same amount of time.
Mary Bringy, you have anything?
Yeah, this is kind of a hard one. I'm kind of into recycling. And I don't think asking the staff in our buildings to put cans in where the cans belong and, refuge in where it belongs is unreasonable. I guess I'd like to have a little more information on this from both aspects. What really is workable? I'm kind of a recycling person, so.
Or not recycling.
Right.
We're putting it all in the same container.
Well,
We're just not
commingling
We're just not
to
separating.
me is a waste of time.
I mean, I don't even understand commingling. I don't even
Well,
think it makes
I
any
mean,
sense, but that's my personal feeling. So,
But, but Phil, all of this would get recycled, whichever, it doesn't matter which hauler you're gonna pick. And even if it's Vernon County, it will all be recycled in some way, shape or form. Yes,
It just won't come to us,
right.
which is in a way seemingly working against ourselves. That's why I think
yes.
we feel that way.
I understand that.
This is,
I have, well, let me just ask a question. If you have commingled recycling and it got dumped at the landfill, if there's time to pick up, do they have time to sort?
no, you can't.
Or is that, I'm
You know,
legitimately,
maybe we
I
could
don't
get some-
understand, so I'm
some
asking it.
jail help with that, but as far as paying someone $20 an hour to sort garbage, it's got to be self-sorted.
Okay,
But I took a picture of a garbage can right down here. I don't know how well you can see it. It's all garbage. But the kicker is that that's the recycling one. It's all garbage. That's what we do here.
Mhm.
okay, what does this committee want to do?
But if that's the one out here, you didn't mean it came from this building.
No.
It came from
No, it's
anybody.
right down in the hall by your office.
Okay, what does this committee want to do? Dave?
I'd like to table this for 30 days and get Vernon, landfill fully involved. You can get, and invite them in and make them feel uncomfortable about giving us some of their ideas. I don't know where that fell apart today. You said Stacy didn't feel like,
Just felt like it was just a waste of time to present it. And well, then she's 1 week behind on the schedule because this is, one week earlier than it normally is.
Sorry, to speak up. Stacy's on vacation this whole week.
Right, Stacy's on vacation.
so when it's harm to table for 30 days and do that.
So is that like, do you get a motion for that?
Sure.
Second.
I have a question regarding that. Tell us again what infrastructure committee did with this in January.
I'm just going to read you that portion of the minutes because it's been almost 2 months. Administrative Coordinator Cassandra Hannon, this item came from the General Government Committee. Hannon said several interdepartmental meetings were had and it was found to be in the best interest of the county to put garbage and recycling services for the county facilities out for bid instead of having the solid waste department handle it. Hannon cited concerns of increased costs, wear and tear on equipment, additional staffing constraints, and concerns from other department heads about storing garbage in sheds and open top dumpsters and the potential smell. Phil Hewitt stated that the county used to do its own, but the county switched because it didn't work. And buildings and facilities staff would prefer to keep things as they are. And prior to that committee meeting, I did meet with Stacy. Phil met with Stacy, and I met with Phil. So the three of us did discuss this, and Stacy at that time told me that she was okay not putting a bid in. She has enough stuff on her plate, and those were the discussions before that committee meeting.
When you look at it from this committee's standpoint, there was a motion and a second and a unanimous vote to have solid waste put a proposal in.
Yeah, that part's true.
And I don't know how two department heads and a coordinator can decide not to do that. I guess that's the Robert Rules of Order thing. You guys wanted it, you haven't got it.
That's okay. That's fair.
But I guess I will ask because that's what that committee directed.
Well, this
Is
is
this
where it gets a little blurry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Is it this committee's responsibility to try and override that committee's decision? Because that's what you're trying to do here.
Well, I think though I'm not trying to do anything.
No,
I'm just
I said
trying to get
you're as a
clarity,
committee collective.
and I believe though what his point is that committee overruled what we asked for, which was a comprehensive proposal. So, I mean, I think it's a little interwoven because prior we asked for a proposal, then it went to infrastructure. They said, no, don't do the proposal. And here we are today.
And they said, no, don't do the proposal. And so therefore, no proposal. So how long are you going to have Phil's department hang in limbo with what needs to be done with this? And I'm not, you can wait on your table and you can wait another 30 days and you'll have new committee members come in and you'll have to basically start from ground over again.
Well, I don't, like, we are the collective you here.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a motion and a second to
Correct.
table it and a discussion. So I think we have, is there more discussion? Mary Bringy?
I'm listening, but I really would like a little more time on it myself. I just feel it's important if we're going to have a system that handles our garbage in the county, we should be the ones supporting it. I just have a hard time sending things out all the time. So I would like to know just exactly where we stand. I see two very different proposals here. And I'm not getting answers completely for either one of them. So I kind of have to stand with Dave on this one. Let's give him a little time. Now you guys write that down.
And one other question to Phil. In the past, this was done and it didn't work. Why didn't it work?
Because of all the complaints, and I'm not talking about staffing because it wasn't my world, but multiple complaints for critters in the garbage, smells in the building, staff time to take and move that material to different places. I mean, we had to bring a Vernon Manor's pickup junked. So we had to take a building's facilities pick and give it to Vernon Manor so they could haul garbage. And it was decided then to change the way we operated, and we did. And this is the garbage for the buildings has always been buildings facilities.
Right.
It's always been this lane. And if you want to turn it into something else, I'm fine with that. Then I'm out, which works for me. But, it's been vetted for a number of years that this is the system that we think works the best.
In that system, did the garbage go to our landfill?
In the past, I'm sure it's went multiple places, and as a general rule, I would say most of it went to our landfill.
So it's not completely apples to apples anymore. All right, we have a first and a second to table this motion.
It's postponed for 30 days.
Postponed for 30 days, thank you. Any more discussions? All in favor of postponing this for 30 days to get a proposal from solid waste, I guess? Signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
And I'd like to ask that if we're going to get that proposal, I would like to know exactly what it's going to cost us for the time that needs to be put in by any other department, whether it's to erect a building, site a building, to pick up garbage, to transfer, whatever, and including what it will cost solid waste time with that. Thank you.
Okay. Bill, department report.
Everything's pretty much going as planned, except for a little paint. All the remodels are complete for the new office staff that we've got over the last couple months. Not much happening. The weather's cooperating. Getting ready for some storage issues. We've done some light work cleaning out, thrown away a lot of junk to make room with a highway shop sale for other entities as far as storage.
That is sold.
Done deal.
Done deal.
They're doing the asbestos abatement as we speak.
So the equipment's out.
Everything that we wanted is out.
So it's sitting out, they don't have a place. Well, it was in there, but that's sitting outside now.
Yeah, some equipment, larger equipment sitting outside so we can make room for other entities to put in for the temporary. But we, like I say, we haven't done any remodeling, but we've done a lot of cleaning, thrown away a lot of stuff to make room But keep in mind that is a temporary solution. With the weather breaking and the weather the way it is, it's worked out fine so far, but it won't when winter comes next year.
So some planning and building plans be done this summer.
I would recommend that, yeah. but all I gotta do is figure out how to pay for it.
So the closing was March 1.
Yes.
There are no balloons or anything released. Just-
Not that I'm aware of. I wasn't there, so I didn't get invited to any ceremonies, so.
They got the money though, according.
The money is in the bank.
Wow.
It's not in your bank yet.
Yeah.
In the highway.
Trust me, we're tracking it. We know exactly where it's at, so.
Nobody attended the closing.
No.
These things are all done virtual anymore. You overnight wet signatures.
There were so many perils along the way, we should have had a party.
Cake.
It's not too late.
Had a cake, yeah.
Still have a cake.
Dave, it's not too late.
No. What about a donut?
All right.
Anything else, Bill?
I'll go according to plan.
Excellent. Thank you for everything today. Legal policy, we don't have anything under there.
Nope.
Excellent. Now we're going to move on to administration. We're going to talk about policy 503, overtime and comp time, and why we're looking at this again. Do you want to clear this up?
So, this policy came before general government in September of 2022. It was approved at general government, but it would appear that it did not go to full board. My understanding was at that time, the policies were being approved at Gen Gov, and it was the understanding that was under the purview of the administrator. That was the process that was followed. The changes in policy were communicated to the employee, and then as practice and this was put into place. Others, we did have other policies, but they were all related to PTO, and that has since been updated and gone through full board approval as well. So,
Thank you. Roy, what are you doing? Are you handing out? Did I get what you handed?
Oh, okay, I didn't know if
Okay, I was doing it. Okay.
the 503, yeah.
All right. I just didn't know if he was handing out something different. I wanted to make sure.
Maybe them
Okay,
donuts.
so essentially, this committee has already approved the changes. It just did not go to the county board. We did verify that there weren't other policies at that time that also, so we could do it all in one batch. So we're really just taking it back to the county board. The sheriff had some feedback that he wanted to at least offer, and, so here we are.
Well, thank you, Chair and committee members, for allowing me this time. I have 31 years in the sheriff's office, and we have always paid out overtime based on hours worked outside of your schedule that go over your, if you use 40 hours, whenever you go over that, it's time and a half. So in September of, well, we have always done it. We haven't based it on hours worked. If you take a vacation day, so I'll just go into my example is, let's say I have, I'll just use a detective as an example that works Monday through Friday. She takes Monday off, that was pre-planned, pre-approved, and takes a vacation day or PTO, whatever you want to call it. And then she works the rest of the week. And come Saturday morning, I call and say, hey, detective, we've just had a suspicious death. We need you to come in, no questions asked, and investigate this. And we know that it's your granddaughter's birthday party this afternoon. We'll try to get you out of there as soon as we can. So the way the policy got changed is that would no longer be overtime as we had done for the past 30 years. It would be you get your PTO day back or it's straight time. And the reason I feel that'll affect our operations is if someone has PTO in that pay period, are they going to answer the phone on the weekend? We are a 24/7 as well as Vernon Manor, and Phil often has some 24-hour coverage at times. We do our best to cover shifts this committee has been great to support us, and it is rare that we have to order anyone in. But we do have mandatory staffing levels in the jail. I have to have at least one 911 operator on at a time. And there are times, there's unforeseen circumstances, somebody's sick, and I have to order someone in on overtime. I just really think that's going to be tough to say we can't pay you overtime. I'll go back to my detective example. We can't pay you overtime, but you'll get your PTO day back.
So let me just break this down. I'm trying to track what you're saying. If somebody works, first of all, well, let me just, overtime law states that any hours worked over 40 hours in a week gets paid time and a half. So that is the law. Now what I think you're saying is if you work if you have PTO on a Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and then which is 8 hours, then the rest of the week, in theory, if it's all perfect, you have 32 hours of work to put in there. Right. But that doesn't always pan out. Maybe it actually turns out to be 38 hours. So you still get paid your full 38 hours plus the 8 hours of PTO. Is that correct? Right? That's how that plays out in my, right?
Yes.
How'd you get 38 and 8?
Well, because
The PTO.
the PTO, if you had the 8 hours PTO. So what are you saying is they should get overtime on adding the PTO hours into that?
Is the way we have always done it is that vacation day stands alone, and that is we counted that as hours worked.
But it's not hours worked.
It's not, but we've done it for 30 years like that. And we had we just had a jailer we had to order in, and it was really hard to tell her, well, we don't have anybody else to work. You're going to have to work, and you do not get overtime because you took PTO early.
You still get your PTO.
You get it back. But then we got to reschedule that
You
day.
have to give it back to them.
They give it back, they don't pay them for it, right?
They don't have to get
Yeah.
it back.
took 12 hours of PTO on Tuesday. I ordered her in on Saturday. So they said, we'll negate the 12 hours you worked, you took PTO time. So you basically get your 42 hours for the week and you didn't use any PTO time. So it's as though she worked that Tuesday without working. You know what I'm saying?
So you don't let them take the PTO if they go over?
You give them the option.
They have the
That's
choice.
my understanding with how payroll is processed. Don't process payroll, but that is my understanding is that they get the option to either get paid for their PTO and use it, or they don't have to use it if they don't want to use it, and they can use it for another day.
So she chose not to use it.
We were told that you cannot get any overtime if there's PTO involved.
Well, if you work 42 hours, you're gonna get 2 hours overtime,
Yes.
plus 8 hours.
Well, they don't because they're correctional, so they fall under a different IRS guideline.
We have an exemption, as Tricia said, but the way,
But we're not talking about the exemption right here.
No.
right?
no,
Correct,
no,
no.
just to give Ole the right number of hours. So they work
But
84 hours.
What you're saying is, yes, if it wasn't a correctional officer, yes. They are wanting them to get overtime pay for their vacation time.
No.
No, that part, but if they work,
Yes,
40
it is. That is
they
what
work
you said.
42 hours, 50 hours, you should.
You want
Asking them to get paid their PTO or their PTO day. And if I order them in on a Saturday, that's going to be overtime.
Correct. Because they had a vacation day, that would put them into overtime.
But it's not.
Not their worked hours isn't over 40.
Well, worked hours is.
So here's what,
Here is the legal description. Overtime is based on worked hours.
Yes.
You don't put a benefit on top of a benefit. It's bad practice. I hear what you're saying, like, maybe you've done it for 30 years. I guess that's a
Gonna make it
win.
right.
It's bad practice. And I am a firm, I have to just say this, and people can disagree with me. We worked really hard to raise wages. And with that comes a responsibility to make sure we're managing our benefits in a financially responsible way. That's how I feel about it. Nikki.
I just want to offer a point of clarity, if I may, so the committee understands the framework that you're working within right now. This policy was reviewed and defined and established at this committee, it wasn't recorded and referred on to the board. So the procedure, the process that you're in right now is acknowledging that, yes, it was a policy that's already been vetted and defined by this committee. And you're simply acknowledging that. And then my advice would be refer it to the board because you've already approved of it and have been acting upon it. And folks have relied upon this policy being set as well.
And is this discussion happening at the board?
What I'm hearing is that Sheriff is asking to reconsider and revise the policy as applied to his department going forward. And that's the question being presented or the issue being presented to the committee right now. And so maybe it's relevant to look back, and I don't have these answers, as to what was the sheriff's input when the policy was actually being considered and defined. Because all the departments would have had that opportunity for input.
I believe they were here.
All we
were here.
Yeah.
So I would just suggest, look at that. And do you want to be reconsidering and revising it as applied to Sheriff's Department? And if so, look at the past info you've got and gather what additional info you need, if any, to make such a determination.
So I reviewed the minutes of the September 2022 General Government Committee meeting, and it was very general, just a motion and a second to approve as recommended by the previous HR director. And then on my handout, you'll see what's redlined out is what the committee took out of the policy.
And I think you guys were in attendance.
I was here as a deputy for the compensatory time. I will acknowledge that I was here as part of the union at the time before I was elected, when we talked about the compensatory time side letter to the collective bargaining agreement.
Trisha?
Can I also note that 2.2 was not striked, and that does specifically talk about correctional officers working additional hours above their shift, excess of their normally scheduled hours. So if someone is scheduled a 12-hour shift and they work 14, they will receive overtime for those 2 hours due to that piece of it, even if they had a vacation day in that week. All of the deputies that he mentioned, the detective as one of his examples, they fall under union. So they are
So we can't.
correct. So we're basically talking about correctional and dispatchers, and then correctional, we do have that piece in there that wasn't stricken.
You know, Phil, or?
Not now, you would have used to, but we've kind of changed our operations. Where if somebody's on an extended, week-long vacation in the summertime, that we said, yeah, and they're in town and we have a flood, we pay them. Because they were good enough to come in to take care of things. If it's a short-term planned event during winter, then it kind of goes where they have the choice.
No,
But you don't pay overtime. If that example clarify for me, they're gone for a week vacation. They come in on Saturday because you had a flood,
Years ago,
but not now. Now they're
not now,
getting
because they
paid.
plan accordingly,
I see.
then they understand that, that if they're in the area and we call them, it's regular time, but we changed how we do that. And now we've given them for winter maintenance, they have their choice. But if they're on vacation, we call them in, most of them take that time off at another time.
Mhm.
So they don't lose anything and they can get their overtime if they want it. If they don't want it, they don't have to take their time off.
What's the private sector doing? Because I talked to a person that works in a 300-person company, and they said if they take a PTO day and get held over or work an extra day, they get paid overtime.
I would say that
Fairly.
I'm curious to talk to who the person is, because typically in the private sector, you get paid overtime on actual hours worked. But you don't lose. I mean, I think the employees still should get the option to take their PTO. Like if they ended up, if you took a Friday PTO day, right, but you should be given that option. So like if you work Monday through Friday and you took Friday off, but come Friday, you've already put 36 hours in, you should be given the option, can I take a
Yeah.
full 8 hours or do I?
And everyone's different. That's why we give them the flexibility, because some people are like, no, since I had to work, I want to use that another day. And some people are like, no, I want the money because I worked more.
Right.
With that, I can say this position and my previous was the only time that I've not overseen payroll. And so for 19 years, this is the policy that was followed in all of my private sector positions, to answer his question.
So the Department of Workforce Development is clear that you are correct. It is based on hours worked. However, at the end, of course, employers may be more generous than the law, requires. And that's where I feel, let's use a nurse at Vernon Manor as an example. Let's say it's crunch time and you need somebody to come in on a day off, like a Saturday or Sunday, and you don't have many choices. Are they how reluctant, how willing are they going to be to come in on straight time on that day off? These folks, their weekends are sacred to them. They really are. And I don't know how often we run into this. I guess we've ran into it 5 times now as of recent. And
Is it an expectation at hire that you may get called in to cover weekend shifts?
it is an expectation. I just feel that, we've done this for 30 years and it's, to order someone in at straight time is really, it's just tough. And it's gonna be difficult because they're upset about it. And how willing are they going to be to answer the phone?
It's only happening though if they're taking a day off. They have a day off in that week.
Yes.
That's the
So
only
they're
time
already
that this
getting
is
paid for the
happening.
day
Yes.
And they're already getting paid for that day off. I would say if you have people that aren't answering their phone, that's a disciplinary, and that's a whole nother issue that we need to discuss.
I think it's noble that you're advocating for your staff. I think the committee needs to decide if they want to make a change. I personally think this is how you handle overtime. It's on hours worked.
I agree.
Mary, Bringy?
No, that was just my phone banging me. Sorry. I'm listening to the conversation and I tend to think we kind of have to treat everybody the same.
Mary Meehan, it's true.
I just have questions. This didn't go to the county board. Is that because you were under the administrative form of government at that time and it didn't need to go, or is it an oversight? Or
I think it's maybe a combination of both. I think it maybe have been an understanding that it was under administrator. I think if you look back when that was happening, there were a lot of things happening.
There were many things that did not go to the board and some should have. It would be me speculating as to what led to this not going to the board.
okay, so did it have to go to the board under an administrative form of government?
It would depend on what our rules said at that time also, and that's where my hesitation is in giving you a definitive answer there, but I think the answer was yes, it should have gone to the full board even at that time.
So that that's why
I gotcha. Yeah.
and then made sure, are there other ones out there that we didn't do? And so either way, this is going to the board next meeting.
So my intention was to come to this committee, try to get this ironed out, and I will, I'll make the same argument during the county board meeting, but I was hoping to maybe get that ironed out here. I just feel that it's that important to our office to advocate for this. And
This only happens if they happen to have a PTO scheduled Monday or first part of the week.
somewhere in that pay period, yes, Oli. Yep.
Somewhere in the.
And we're talking pre-approved, not last minute.
Or holiday, or ELB or comp time.
So yes.
And then any benefit pay within that week, really. It could be ELB, it could be a holiday. The nuance is overtime is paid on worked time. The time and a half piece of it. Like that's what the law, but it could be other than PTO. Could be
I worked for American Standard, who had thousands of employees. And I agree with both Roy and the committee. If you had a holiday, 2 in a week, and you got called in for mandatory overtime on the weekend, and you had to work it on straight time on your weekend, there was a whole lot of disgruntled people there. But you knew that going in, and that was part of the job. If you had the option of, getting a different job, I guess. So, yeah, did we hate it? We all hated it when you get a whole bunch of people on mandatory, especially, Christmas, New Year's, holidays, weddings. You were there if you wanted that job and you worked at straight time. But on the other hand, if you had your 40 hours in and you worked over 16 hours of overtime, you got double time. And if it was on a holiday, you got triple time. So it was a balance there. And we didn't have the option of going back and say, hey, I didn't want my vacation. I'll take overtime on Saturday. That option wasn't even on the board. So, that's just, I agree. It sucks.
Can I just add one thing, I guess? I don't think this affects a ton of people. And I don't know what the cost is. I could probably go over last year. It would take quite a bit of time and figure it out. But with the amount of effort it takes me to hire a person and train a person, if I lose one person because of this, I don't think we save $1 if it costs me $10,000 to hire and train a person. And I order somebody in 2 weeks and they say, I'm not getting paid any overtime because of this, and I'm getting ordered in. I just fear that that's a losing proposition also. So I guess I just kind of want to throw that in there, that we're not in it. We're in a very mobile, I'll go get a different job kind of cycle. And if I get one application, sometimes I'm a happy guy, and I don't want to do anything to cause me to lose any good help over a policy change that we've had for 30 years. So that would be my only concern.
I talked to Juneau County Sheriff, and I think they went to an on-call pay on the weekends, and I don't think we want to go there, but this is not unique to Vernon County. This is there's shortages, and this committee has done a great job to keep us fully staffed, and I really appreciate that. So I don't come here just on a whim to ask for something like this.
Dave?
Well, I was going to advocate for continuity. It's been working for 31 years, and I've been here long enough to have experienced the challenges they have of keeping a full staff over there. So whatever we can do to help them in that endeavor is well worth it.
So what are you saying? You want to change the policy?
I want to advocate for his position, sheriff's. Change.
I would say that it would have to be countywide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, and then we have to consider Vernon Manor and all the other departments and the cost implications for that overtime pay.
Yeah.
Overtime is already.
I think it's the irresponsible way to manage our benefits.
I also have to ask, if you have that many people calling in, are they being disciplined for all of these individuals that are calling in?
This was pre-approved time off.
Yeah, but if they're being called in, you just said they're being called in.
What was the
called in, and they're not going to come in, they're not going to answer their phones. That was the big issue. So if these people, if they're calling in all the time, we have a
limit. He was citing what could be an obstacle, I think was more.
We're not saying that's going on repeatedly. That's why I said I don't know that it's a huge cost to us, but I'm running into scheduled time off that I can't find anybody to fill a Saturday shift because, well, I've already taken a Tuesday off. I ain't going to volunteer to take that Saturday shift because I ain't getting paid anything extra to do it.
Then I would allow them to have the day off.
What's that?
I want to approve their day off then.
Well, I think
they're going to take away their vacation day on Tuesday because they won't work An out of shift day on a Saturday?
I would like
I don't
her,
think it's more.
I would like to footnote what Tricia said. First of all, it's not all because people are calling in.
agree with you, but
Oh.
Yeah, it's not all because, let me give you an example. Last Monday, we had a tactical call in Ontario. And that started at 8:30 in
I
the
can't
morning.
hear two conversations at
sorry.
once here.
No,
Sorry.
you're up, Roy.
Okay. Last Monday, we had a tactical call in Ontario. Had a very good outcome. Started at 8:30 in the morning. We had the two talked out by 11 o'clock. But time, you know, it was obvious a mental case. One of them went to Mayo and Eau Claire. The other one went to Winnebago.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the hours, I didn't give any names, the hours that went into that, the last unit cleared at 1 p.m. the following day. So we had a jailer down at, you know, doing some guard duty, and it's not about people calling in that we're always trying to fill. It's added duties that we have.
So did that jailer get paid overtime for that day?
No, because she was already working. I think she was already, we could spare her going down there. She might have had some overtime. I think she did have some.
Well, no,
overtime.
who falls under a correctional officer that's not a jailer?
Yes,
It
they're the
is.
same.
Okay, so that employee who worked a 14-hour day
Mhm.
was scheduled for how many hours that day? 8?
12.
12. So that employee got paid time and a half for the extra 2 hours.
Yes.
Because that's what our policy states.
Yeah, as long as they didn't have any PTO earlier.
No, because that's hours worked on a day. The stipulation is on the day for that particular class of people. Right? Am I missing that?
No, you are correct.
So 2.2 does talk about hours worked as
Right.
well.
So, right. But
In excess
for that
of their
day,
normally
in excess,
scheduled hours
so
per pay period.
that overtime was paid.
Mhm.
And I can say that because I reviewed the time cards.
So that they did get compensated overtime for the extra hours.
Yeah, but she didn't, it wasn't one of these cases where they had PTO earlier.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Period.
She would have still gotten that too.
Well, not according to the directives we got, right?
No,
Mike?
right now, look at 2.2. This is on hours worked for that day.
She would have got,
She got the 2 hours overtime, whether she would have had
and she had
PTO that,
PTO request.
she would have had the
somewhere,
PTO
got
too.
an additional 6, 8 hours. Straight time. But overtime just on the 2 hours.
For that day.
What the way we were told to change the timesheets is, so let's say she worked 13 hours that day, but she had some PTO earlier in the week. Instead of getting overtime for that extra hour, it would basically, she'd just get that much PTO back that she took earlier in the pay period.
Well, someone is not looking at that for that. That's clear. That's clear that is not correct. If they were scheduled 12 hours and someone works 13 hours and that's irrelevant, they should still get that time and a half for that hour. So somehow that, at least that scenario is not, you are correct that that person in that scenario should have gotten that extra overtime for that day, regardless of what PTO happened around it.
Mhm.
I think it's more if you had 8 hours of PTO. I don't even know. And you work an extra day that shift, but it doesn't legitimately put you into 40 hours, over 40 hours, then you should still get overtime for it.
So the first time this came up, we had 4 employees affected, and I redacted their names, but I have that summary. I don't have it right in front of me here, but the way it was communicated to us is any extra hours they had to go against their PTO. And then so let's say you worked 9 hours extra and you took 8 hours of PTO, they're saying you'll get 1 hour of overtime and then get your PTO day back.
That would be correct.
Yeah.
But the day scenario has a different protection. Mary.
If I may, 2.2, I think we could clarify that. Instead of at the end saying per pay period, perhaps it should say per shift. And that would, I think, alleviate some of that. I could see how it would be interpreted if you're looking at the pay period as a whole, the way that you're outlining it, Roy. But if that's defined as per shift, then you're truly treating it, if you hit over 12 hours, that's overtime. I think that definition should be there. It should not be based on pay period. It should be per shift.
Because that's the
That makes
intention
sense.
of 2.2. Does that make sense to people?
We're gonna do it.
That was going to be,
That's going to do.
that's part of my question. You know, when you started out, you said the state law says any hours worked over 40 in a pay period's overtime. Okay. Then we started talking about 12-hour days and a shift. And anything over the 12 hours in that shift is overtime.
Well,
But I didn't, so I don't know, does it apply per day or does it apply per
okay, so
pay period?
I can answer that, and Tricia, tell me if I'm on the right track. This is this is where Roy said I called the Department of Workforce Development. They said 40 hours. That's your minimum standard, but an employee could do more. And this employer could do more.
Yes.
And this employer has deemed that if you are in excess of your scheduled hours in a day, then that's like an added benefit for the employee that this employer is willing to implement, that if it's in excess of the schedule for this particular class of individuals, then they get the time and a half added. So it's both. You both get the 40 plus, 40 hours plus as the minimum standard. And this is an added benefit that the employer has added for this class of.
So it's only the correctional officers.
Correct.
Thank you. And that's we've gone above and beyond what the state law says we can do because the employer can. Thank you.
And it makes sense. Like you have an unpredictable, that was a great example that Roy put, this person went, you can't say I'm out in the middle of a crisis. So how do you reward an employee for going above and beyond in a crisis situation? That has been accounted for.
Regular deputies.
They're union.
Their union.
Yep.
So that's all outlined differently. Under their
Yeah.
collective bargaining agreement.
So you live by under your command, this union. Except for the-
We're about, our non-union slightly outweigh our union right now for total numbers, so.
But they're not involved in case like,
We need an emotion.
are they on the road or are they deputies or what?
It'd be our correctional officers in the jail and our dispatchers. That's what that's who it will affect, both correctional officers and dispatchers.
Okay, I think it's time, maybe this has to go to the board. I agree on a change on 2.2 for clarification on the language from pay period to shift. Anything else? If not, I'd like a motion for this policy 503 with the change to 2.2 from pay period to shift to be made, because the next step is this will go to the county board this month.
So moved.
Dave, could I get a second?
Everybody,
Mary Bringy, any more discussion? Are you both clear on the change?
You know, sidebar going, yes. First
Yeah, you
shift.
got a lot of sidebars going over here.
Shift, yes. That motion was by
By
Dave.
Dave
And Mary
Bringy.
Bringy second.
yeah,
You're kind of squirrely today.
My fault.
my antibiotics are kicking in.
It's the meds.
I have been just down for the last 2 weeks and I'm finally coming back to life.
Okay, all in favor of that motion, signify by aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Roy.
Prescription drugs, by the way.
Can I ask one question? What's this going to do for the people in Phil's department who work lots of overtime or have overtime shifts? Nothing, right?
It's just correction.
you don't get shot at.
And it also doesn't affect their, what was the two classifications you had? Correction officers and who?
Dispatchers.
And dispatch. So it doesn't affect dispatchers either.
And administrative.
Okay. It's just a disparity. Huh?
Continuity.
That's continuity for one department, but not the rest.
Yeah, and I mean, we can talk about that differently. If there are, I would think of, I would just not make it overtime. I'd make it something else.
Okay. It can
You're
come under
messing with like an
consideration.
overtime situation and it is not overtime.
I hear you.
If it's an on-call thing, like,
So,
anyway, so we'll move.
Keep going.
This piece will go to the board if there's opportunity for different things about it. It's just,
So
it's not overtime.
this doesn't affect any other department. But it does say
2.3.
correction officers and dispatch.
Well, 2.2 does, but the rest affects all the other departments.
We didn't change that.
We didn't change anything else.
No.
We just clarified the language in 2.2, which was a great catch.
And that,
And it's not a
No.
change, it's just reflecting the intentions that were
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
does that help you, Department Chair?
Yeah, I just, you know, I look at my dispatchers, my correctional officers, very similar. They're all 24/7, and I would like to see it be for both dispatchers and correctional officers because they're, you know, they're both 24/7. They're mission critical jobs, like a lot of jobs in the county, but they are 24/7.
Okay, we are going to move on to Vernon County Committees, Commission Structure, Roles, and Responsibilities and Provisions. We've seen this. Thank you, Sarah.
So we had just a few things to into from last month, which is why it's being brought back. So one of the bigger questions posed was who decides who chairs an elective committee? They did reach out to the Counties Association, and they told me that the only elected committee by statute is the Highway Committee. So that decision is on us as to how we define that in our document.
Wait, that is,
So
wait, what?
at some point when we were setting up our committees, as far as elective committees, the understanding the Counties Association had for me was to say the only elective committee that they're aware of is a highway committee.
But don't we, wait a minute, we say that land and water is elected? or-
That, the county has the policy.
That's county, that's
That's
Yeah.
policy. Okay, so
So
what?
as part of our county decision, that's a decision that's on the county. So there's nothing out there as far as the Counties Association or state statutes that define that. So that decision is on us.
Okay, it's been determined that those are elected committees.
I've been for 30 years or more.
Okay.
You guys just want to do things because we've done it forever.
You don't want to ever do anything second time. Oh,
Yeah. You got it. No.
So the way,
Interesting.
yeah, so as far as elective, so on page 2 on the bottom there, it does say elected committees shall nominate and elect a chairperson and vice chairperson at the first committee meetings following a board of supervisors organizational meetings. And that's elected. It is not defined how or who under the appointed committees, how that's defined.
I thought you were talking about like, can a citizen member be an officer of an?
Well, we're going to talk about that.
That's
We've got several points to bring up from last month. We have the elective piece defined. What we don't have defined is the appointed.
I thought that's when those people, when the board members appoint these positions, doesn't the county chair, we used to be chair and a clerk appointed chairman and vice chairman.
It's not defined. So if we want to define that, we should put it in this document.
We did
That's how
that.
it's always been, yeah.
Okay.
The chair. appointed the
Well,
committee.
chair appointed the committees. That was clear.
Otherwise, that's one option. Otherwise, the committee within its own first meeting with it.
Right, so the question is, do you want to treat the appointed committees the same as you're currently treating your elected committees where they decide? Or do you want your board chair to decide who's going to chair your appointed committee?
So we decide that today, then it goes to county board.
So when we redid the administrative coordinator's position, the overwhelming feedback from administrator to coordinator was to make sure that the chairperson had the ability to appoint to the non-elective committees. That was like the biggest thing. So
Yeah.
that is still in place. It's
Yeah.
just whether we determine that that chairperson should elect the chair of those committees or let the committee vote. Is
Right.
that okay?
That is correct.
And the second step of that is, can an appointed person be the chair of the committee?
Yes, which we're going to adjust that separately.
Non-supervisor.
I kind of like the idea they do within their own committee, but that's opposite of what we're doing now,
That is opposite of what has been done.
my opinion.
If you were chair, you might think otherwise though, right?
I've been chair for Vernon Manor for
No, I mean, chair of the board.
Chair of the board.
Really makes no difference to me, but just as an example, I know that Alice Ann is the person that needs to chair this general government committee because she's the best ever. But the other four,
Does that make the rest of us?
okay, but the other four people on the committee don't like her.
Wait, don't write that down.
Don't.
That's just an example.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
that,
not
I
true.
don't know if that would happen. You know what I mean? Is that,
Oh, because then they could be voted out.
they could vote you out then, even though you are the best. But that would only be the chair's opinion, which might be wrong. So, I mean, it goes in all different directions.
Well, I mean, past experience, I was chair for finance for 14 years or so,
Yep.
done it for 18. And then I think the county chair and I got in disagreement and I lost my position. In fact, I lost in landfill too.
But you would still lose.
Why couldn't it be both? Why couldn't it be in like collaboration with the county chair and the committee? Is that
County
too
board chair
complicated?
doesn't have a vote on a committee unless the committee chair invites them.
Mary, Bringy?
I kind of think we just leave it alone because, and I haven't always appreciated how the county board chair appointed chairs and vice chairs. But I also think they generally, I hope, do it with some thought to experience. And I think you're going to create quite a little chaos at that first meeting if you don't have some of this sorted out. That's my opinion, but
Okay.
It's 5 committees, right? We're talking about 5 committees here. The rest aren't appointed. The rest elect their own, right?
they're all elected, which is a good way to do it too. In those,
Wait, hang on.
That's the opposite. The
The opposite.
five appointed or the 5 elected committees do choose their own chair.
Right,
Yes.
it's
yes.
It's the
the
appointed.
non-elected.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
And I mean, this first meeting, this is a slight sidebar, is going to be different than the last time because with the administrator in place, that role did appoint everybody. But there will need to be, I would assume, because that's where the elected committees will get, I'm kind of looking at you to make sure I'm on the right path. Elected committees will get formed by the new board. The chairperson will, and vice chair, that all forms. So I don't think it's realistic that meeting, the other committee, because whoever the chairperson is going to want to talk to the new board members to figure out what they're,
And to talk to the open board
and to see where they're at. So it's not all going to happen in April, but we want to have it set up so we know what we're doing, right? Okay.
I don't know. The WCA, just a little plug for them, but for all the supervisors, just a reminder, they have some really wonderful materials online, including videos of their in the boardrooms that right now are on point to the organizational meeting. They've had one that's already on their website. There's another one coming up soon. I don't recall the date, but it'll be available on the website as well in regards to the organizational meeting. And it's a wealth of information there. I'd encourage all the supervisors to check it out before the April meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great.
So what do we want to do with this?
It really makes no difference to me. I think it would be nice for the committees to choose their own, take some of the, I don't know what you want to call it, heavy-handedness out of it, so they would feel more control. I don't know. You're a chair. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I think the reason, I think what I'm hearing, I feel like it could go fine either way.
Yeah.
My slight hiccup is if you have a brand new committee and someone with no history, but maybe they'd be an awesome chair because they don't have the history. I don't know. So I could see it going. I don't have a strong.
I wouldn't think the county chair and the coordinator would organize a committee and all new members on without somebody in the past experiences beyond that committee, at least one person or two.
That institutional.
Right. So you'd already be setting up the committee for success based on the makeup. And yeah, I think. Mary, Brainy?
I'm just saying that I think we leave it the way it is because I think it's always chaotic. And generally that is who ends up being the chair or the vice chair of these different committees. Is it the person on that committee that has past experience? I just think it just might be easier to let the chair do it. Whereas in the elected committees, the supervisors do it. It just splits it in half, and I'm okay with it.
Whatever way you do it, you just may want to have them be elected from current board members.
Yeah.
So that you don't have a situation where if the board person supervisor who is the chair has a vice chair who is a non-county board member and something happens, you don't have a non-board supervisor running a county board supervisor committee
So
meeting.
you're going to be appointed.
I thought that was another issue.
And that is another issue, but that was also the recommendation of the counties association to not put a citizen member as a vice chair.
I totally agree with that. I think that's
Citizen
risk
member
management.
chair of Vernon Manor
I'm aware.
for my time.
I think that is the best in terms of risk management. Ultimately, it's the county board of supervisors who are responsible for the committee. So, okay, so come on, let's move this fast. Mary Bringy has said, keep it as is.
I make a motion to keep it as is.
Is there a second?
Perhaps not.
Dave Egan will second it.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor of keeping it as it is, signify by aye.
This is
I
for elected and
just,
appointed.
no,
position.
No, elected,
it's
just
for
appointed.
just the appointed committees.
Because elected is by the
I thought
committee.
that's what we were talking about.
I think that is it.
Yes.
Okay, for clarification, what Mary Bringy's motion is, unless I'm wrong, correct me, is that she is stating for appointed committees, it should stay the same, which has the chairperson appointing the chair of the committee. Is that your motion?
The chair and the vice chair. That's how it's been done.
Okay, of that committee.
Yes. And we're just talking about the appointed committees.
You just confused me
Okay,
because I thought you
Oh.
were talking about the chair and the vice chair of the county board.
No.
No,
Chair. will-
Okay,
the
okay, but-
chair-
okay.
Chair of the committee.
The county
All right.
board
Appoint chair and vice chair.
chairperson would appoint the chair and vice chair of the appointed committees.
Yep.
Do they currently appoint the vice chair?
yes, they always
They do.
have. And I thought that was interesting too, because when we lost our vice chair, or how did that work? We appointed that, or we chose one, but we were an appointed committee. Maybe we shouldn't have done it that way. Maybe we should.
Mary?
What committee is that?
General government, but I think that Lauren and I did talk about what the direction was, so it wasn't like he was not in the know.
So he was.
And actually, I take that all back. Carrie was still in place.
The current document states vacancies on appointed committees shall be filled by appointment of the county board chair.
That's not how it was done.
Right, because we had an administrator.
Well, we passed this, that's how it will be done. Can I clarify
Right.
your motion again? So,
Please.
so we're really not saying
It
keep it
was.
the
He
same,
called me.
because we need to add
Lauren
this
called
language that's not currently in that document. Just say the chair will appoint the chair and the vice chair of the appointed committees. That's not in the document.
Correct. So we were.
So we're not really
Yeah.
keeping it the same. What we're doing is keeping the same practice
We're
by adding
putting
this
current
language.
practice into
Yep,
the document.
into document.
Policy,
Yes.
yes.
Then I would-
Practice is being policy.
And that was voted on. I would suggest in a second motion that if you don't want to have citizen members serve as a chair or vice chair of an elected committee, we need to add that language.
Of any committee.
But I thought that was,
From any committee.
All right, we need that language added to this then.
Okay, so you want that part of the same motion?
We got
the same motion.
Okay, let me finish this motion.
We voted.
No, didn't we?
Oh,
We didn't
No,
vote.
you voted in favor?
Yes,
of it?
we voted.
You voted.
We voted. We're not 2 hours in yet.
You vote?
yeah, I'm trying to like,
Held it.
Well, no, we didn't. Okay, I called for a vote and then we clarified because Oli wasn't sure exactly what we were voting on. So now is the motion clarified. So now I'm calling all those in favor of implementing this practice into policy signify by aye.
Right.
Aye.
Any opposed? What?
Jerry,
Jerry, you're.
are you including the second part
No,
of this
now
now?
we're taking that up.
Thank you.
You need to simmer down.
I gotta get off them drugs, right?
Okay.
you need a rest.
I believe the next motion, because I think we talked about this, is that we are saying that an citizen member at large, is not to chair either an elected committee or an appointed committee. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Chair
or
or-
vice chair.
Or vice chair?
Well, there isn't any on the elected committee. Well, yes, there are.
Mhm.
They're on the egg, yeah.
Okay, so
They're also on
I
very
think that's what I heard. Dave is making that motion. Will somebody second?
Who made the motion?
Dave?
I'll second it.
Oli? Okay, more discussion? No. Oh. All in favor of that part?
Mary's hand is up.
Oh, Mary, I'm sorry.
okay, so maybe we're talking about a committee where, the citizen committee, the citizen member is voted on by the county board. My question is, what's the legalities of if this, chair or vice chair that's not on county board, how does that affect us legally?
Well, if they're not the chair or the vice chair, it won't.
Yeah.
Well, but if they are, that's my question.
Well, that's what we're saying, that
We're not
we're not,
following that.
we're saying we don't want that.
Okay, so you're just, okay,
So,
they may be the
so
most brilliant person in the world, but they're not gonna get to chair. All right, whatever.
repeat your motion for her.
They could, then you know what? Election papers
Get elected.
to run.
Yeah, move her in person.
Okay.
Always looking for talent. Local
All right.
government's always looking for good talent, so.
Okay, I'm cool, I'm with it.
Brilliant one.
Okay, and that is what, in all seriousness, that is what WCA did recommend.
Correct.
And I'm seeing that's what Corp Council is also recommending. Okay,
Well, it would be the safest.
so all in favor the motion presented signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? What else?
Okay, page 6 into 7, zoning board of adjustment. Typically, for boards of adjustment, you do not have county board supervisors. My understanding, we haven't had many of those meetings to begin with, but the current structure says 3 supervisors plus 1 alternate. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on changing that structure. So it's not as big of a deal now, and we could revisit it down the road when we do have presumably an actual like comprehensive zoning ordinance, which is when you will start to see things come before the Board of Adjustment variance requests. As it sits now, like I said, probably not a big deal, but something to keep on our radar for sure, because they would be acting kind of as a quasi judicial body where they're hearing those variance appeals to our ordinance. And it wouldn't really make sense to have a member of the legislative body hearing the appeals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Seeing some nods.
That makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
On the township level, the Board of Appeals is the same people as on the board.
Can be.
And that's generally how it's set up on all of them. It's like, kind of getting them to change their mind basically, but I think they recommend having people from different walks of life on there, but all, well, basically you don't want like 5 city dwellers on there or 5 farmers, you want 2 bankers and your lawyer, all that
Right.
stuff on there. From different walks of life from different geographic areas.
4 years ago, I asked for a board of adjustment on behalf of a citizen, and they were all county board members, I believe. At the time,
They still are.
they were wrong.
So, like I said, not something we necessarily have to change right now, but definitely something to keep on our radar.
And when you change that to set all citizen members, then you're gonna have to revisit this.
Yep. I was just thinking about that as we were talking about the chair and the vice chair piece. There was one other change from last month. We had struck otherwise the purview of the administrator, just changed that to administrative coordinators. Otherwise, that
Where's
was
the
it.
planning?
It's in there. It's on page. Oh, yeah, we do need to talk about that. 7. We will have a change. Our planning committee is actually a planning commission because it does have citizen members on it. So we do have a name change. No change to the structure of that committee whatsoever. But as part of this process, I did update that, and that'll be adopted by the board as well. Thanks, Chair.
So we don't need to make a motion for this?
No, it'll
Or
just be part of the document, because actually right now, in our current document, we don't have anything regarding the opioid abatement and prevention steering committee or the planning commission. So we would move forward with this document to go to county board.
Okay, so do we need a motion to get it to the county board? I'm sorry, Mary.
I just have a question, so I'll wait for the motion.
You can make the motion.
No, I'll wait for the motion.
Okay, could someone make a motion to take it to the county board? Dave? And a second? Mary Bringy? Okay, question?
Cassie, did you do anything with the citizen member?
No, I was just going to bring that up before, because I figured that was your question.
Mhm.
So under, on page 4, thank you. 5 supervisors and 1 citizen. So this is for
Conservation
and education, and 1 citizen member pursuant to Wisconsin Stats 92.06. That is the correct statute. If you look it up, it points you actually to another one. So I will reflect that. It's 91 point something. And that defines someone involved in an agricultural use. Page 4.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Their use? To be,
91012A.
Thank you, Nikki.
there used to be some regulation that was a representative from the Farm Service Agency. Not a person who worked for them, but a farmer that was appointed or recommended by them to be appointed to the committee because of regulations for a joint committee. I don't know if that's still in place, so according to this, we've taken that out, so it could be a farmer at whim, I guess.
Well, Ben had said that they don't do that anymore.
Okay, is that?
That's what made this whole issue.
Thank you.
come up.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of bringing Vernon County Committees and Commission structure, role, and responsibility as changed to the county board?
Aye.
All in favor, signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next up is salaries for upcoming term 2025 to 28 for county clerk, treasurer, and registered.
We can skip that.
No, we can't skip that.
Oh, you want me to go ahead?
Please.
Okay, so you have comparables in your packet there. Jerry also has a document outlining a proposal for the term. Jerry included a 3% increase per year. The counties really vary anywhere from 1 to 3%. My recommendation, honestly, would be more of a 2% increase, just falling in line with other counties. But when we look at 2025, you'll notice a significant increase. That is what we're starting to see. A lot of counties haven't adopted theirs yet, but this would fall more in line with where our other department heads are sitting on our new wage scale. So you see register deeds and treasurer at 72,000 and clerk at 74, reflective of the additional duties of the clerk. Again, that's up for you for debate, but that's how.
Are these current?
Yep.
This is our current. Those highlighted are current,
Yep.
and this is the proposed increase. Okay.
Like I said, what Jerry's handed you reflects a 3% increase from year to year. I don't see I'm just gonna be frank, I don't see a 3% increase for our general employees as something that may be realistic or sustainable with our budget. So I wouldn't recommend that. Personally, I would say 2% is probably a safer number. If you wanted to keep those in mind.
So for our, you may have to say that again for me. So you don't think a 2% increase will be applicable? That's less than cost of living.
No, I think 2%. I'm talking realistically with our budget. I mean, typically, in my past experience, somewhere in that 2 to 3%. Before I came here, I've never had a COLA increase higher than 3% in local government. It just hasn't happened because of budget constraints.
Okay. What's the status now of those positions comparables?
We're way behind.
I
They're
assume
way
so.
behind.
But how are we gonna have a catch up there? Or how?
So the catch up would be from 24 to 25. So what you have here is what we're currently paying,
Okay.
which for clerk is
Which document are you looking at?
So
the
the
one that's in
current,
your packet.
Yeah,
and the bold under Vernon is what the current wages are.
okay.
And then this one is what is proposed for next term.
And that's a 3% raise on that.
Each year is 3%.
Is that 3% on the base right now?
No. that's
No,
not
it's quite you're
It's
seeing the
3%
jump from this year to next year. And that's to be consistent with what we did for our COLA increases for our general employees and to be consistent with what we're looking at for similar department heads as part of our new wage scale.
So
Saying clerk of 68 to 74.
Correct.
Okay.
So the jump from 20, I'm just probably making you say the same thing again, but the jump from 24 to 25 is on par to what we've done across the board with other people in
Yes.
similar.
Yeah, and these numbers that you're seeing for 25 will be consistent with similar department heads on our new wage scale.
Okay. And then what's in front of us is a 3%, 26, 27, 28, and you're saying that might be higher.
I think it's a little high. And then just another comparison to our wage scale, if you are on the step system, it's a 2% increase from year to year. So I think that a 2% would provide consistency there as well.
So
But
we're
it's not
bringing
big,
them,
it's not big dollars because these are only individual people, 3 people,
Right.
3 individuals.
Can I speak? Oh, or no?
well, just, yes,
Or official?
I'm just wanting,
Okay.
okay. Did you have something?
Okay, so elected officials is the salary that this would be set for, it's set for the term. It doesn't change, correct, during that term?
Correct. But this is proposing that it would.
That's why I'm asking that question.
2% each year, because
But has
we
that?
did that every time as always.
Typical. Like you said, you
That's
said
what-
that
I think that's what
yeah.
he's asking. Is
You
it
outlined
typical
it
to
for
have an
those
increase?
for the term, and it would be
Okay, if you outlined it that way. Thank you.
Jerry?
That's all I was gonna say. These can't be raised or lowered throughout the term, and we can debate whether 2% or 3% is the better number, but you know that over time, if you don't keep it going, you're gonna get behind again. I mean, we're way behind from where the other counties, and other counties are adopting some of these, and they're adopting them a lot higher than this. And we can bring in Richland County to show you. You want to talk about comparable counties. But at the end of the day, we also have to look at where do we fit with other department heads? So it's not like we're going to be in here and be greedy and say, look what they're doing. We want that. Right? I think Cassie's correct. It's consistent with where we should be at. I think the debate's really about the percentage, and I don't think 3% is out of line, personally. That's just me.
You can just do some quick math of where we're at right now and where we'll be in 4 years. Each person is going to get about $1,000 a month extra or increase in their wages between now and the next 4 years, $1,000 a month, a total of $36,000 more on our wage scale.
Per person?
No, total 3.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's how I want it to.
Yeah, but the trick to that is not to get so far. We've had this debate before, right? Don't get so far behind, and it doesn't cost so much to keep up.
no, but what you could have happen is if you go with the 3%, you have your regular employees who are on a step system who are only getting the 2%.
I guess that. Mary Brady, did you have something?
I'm just listening.
Okay, it's an interesting spot because like you're how we are, but I want to make sure if other people have something they want to say, they have the opportunity to say it.
I mean, I'm just looking at, I have everybody that are either proposed or are pending or have approved. And, all counties are all over the map, but I mean, I'm looking at like Richland County, what their, 2025 starting salary is 76 and then going to 80 to 83 to 86. So theirs is 5% in 26, 4% in 27, and 3% is me. So I'm just looking, it's hard to, because everybody's so different. But the numbers that I'm seeing from other counties are high, very high. I don't think we're asking.
I just wanted to add that I know you talk about the 2% steps, but all other employees have the possibility of getting 2% plus a COLA.
They do.
And we do not. We get this is it. No up, no down, no COLA, no nothing.
So let's
It's predicting the
think
future.
about that for a second. When our trend in wages have we over the last 4 years, let's take 4 years, for our employees, have they really only received a 2% increase?
Or less, 1.5 sometimes.
Yeah, but then we substantially made a change to it.
Yes.
But then we substantially made,
last year to
wait, but then we made a substantial change to wages. So it wasn't really 1.5%.
Right.
It was.
You're correct.
So I guess my point, is it realistic that we're just gonna stick to 2%
I,
for our employees?
I support the 3%.
Me too.
Others? You know,
Mary?
I'm a big.
I have a question. Okay, now we're talking am I recognized?
Yes, you.
Okay. I'm kind of a little confused with this, 3%, 2%, because as I understand it, when we set the salary for these positions, until the next election, they can't be changed, correct? Right. So I think what we have to do with this is, we're going to have to pick up because they obviously didn't get these, wages that the rest of county employees got, but they're not county employees, they're elected employees. I mean, elected. Well, yeah, it's just one of those, but you were elected, you weren't actually hired. That's how it's supposed to be. But, so I think we have to look at a wage that is consistent with what we have done for employees in our county.
So I think we did that. I think what I'm hearing is they are by the 2025. Oh, you don't have a sheet that we're
I
looking
don't
at.
have the sheet, so that's probably why I'm.
Okay. So
I have what was.
It's
I have
coming
what was
your
sent
way.
out
So
to me.
what
but
is? So Trisha's going to send it to you because you're missing a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, where are we going with this?
So she's going to go do that, and Mary Bringy has a question in the meantime. So let that come your way, and then we'll pick it back up, okay?
And the answer.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the other Mary.
So in the current term, the salaries were set at the beginning and there was nothing built in for increases in,
Yes, there were 1%, 2% or whatever.
they were built in.
Yep.
Okay, so it was built in, but it just wasn't the same as what the rest got. Got it.
And it didn't.
We don't receive.
Yes.
It also was not there because they're elected. They couldn't get adjusted like the others were.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was used to what it was when you started. It was every year for the full amount. That's why I asked that question.
That's what I was used to too. And I think it's been 8 years since I sat on the personnel one with Ron Huff and stuff. And it was like you decided one number for the 4
For the 4 years, yeah.
So this is
statute or?
Either way's okay. It just needs to be defined
Okay.
in advance.
Okay,
This
that's
is
the
what we
key.
did last time, and Mary Bringy was on the committee, maybe only two. We did a substantial bump for treasurer and register of deeds at first because of what we were seeing our comparables.
The other abuse your county clerk.
I can't, I'm trying to figure out, are those
In terms of comparables.
58 or 58? Are they? I'm secure looking.
Okay, but that last go around. I think I hear everyone's aligned with that new 2025 wage, like getting everyone on the scale. It's really the percentage. I hear two people saying, let's go for the 3%.
Yes.
Is that 3% for 26, 27, 3% each year? So it's by the time you get to the end of 28, it's a 9% over what you've bumped them up to in 2025?
369, yes.
Over and above what they were bumped up to in 25.
Yes. Which is,
More like other
a cost of
employees in the
living.
county be the same way, so.
I hear you. I see.
Potentially,
Well,
or less.
it's about $6 an hour for the next 4 years.
He's like, Ryan, I think you might get a good clerk.
Good Lord.
Mary Bringy, did you get it?
I did. I'm looking at
Do
it.
you?
I'm going back to her.
Okay, so
Motion.
make a motion
I will.
to accept
Yes.
this grid as presented with the 3% increase and then it goes to the county board. Could I get a second?
Second.
Ole. Any more discussion?
So that's a 8% increase for 25 and then 3% each year after that.
Mhm.
So 8 and 9, that's a 17% increase by the end of the next term.
Right. Part of the 8% though is getting them in line where they should.
Understand?
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor of a 3% increase signify by aye.
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 Aye. Mary Bringy?
I'm gonna say no. I think it's kind of high.
She got her sheet. She got her sheet. All right.
I
This
got
will
the
go to
sheet,
the
yeah.
county board. Where am I at here? All right, your report.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Short and sweet here. We're gonna get done before noon today. We interviewed 2 firms for the Vernon Manor feasibility study, Clifton, Larson, Allen, and Whitley. Ultimately, we selected Whitley. We're also meeting with representatives from Bethany St. Joe's this Friday to explore what a management agreement might look like for the facility. So looking at some options there. More to come on that. From there, those 2 options, assuming they're both feasible, will go to finance committee and then to the full board. As Tricia said, we've been meeting with department heads to go over the draft result of the wage study. These meetings have been very positive and productive with very few issues. So once those meetings are wrapped up, which they should be done soon here, I think they only have 3 left to do. We'll meet with the wage consultant again to answer any additional questions that were posed by the department heads or ourselves. From there, the draft will be presented to this committee and then ultimately the board, hoping for that to happen in May, assuming the timeline stays on track. The Planning Commission, through the Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission, has released a survey for the development of the comprehensive plan. I put one in each of your packets. There are extra flyers on the end of the table there. I encourage you all to take the survey and provide your input for the future of the county. Takes about maybe 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes at the most. And as Phil said earlier, we've officially closed on the old highway shop. We're in the process of finding a home for all of the emergency management equipment and the ADRC vehicles. Otherwise, most of my time has been taken up with those wage study meetings in the last couple of weeks. So, any questions?
No, you're done?
That's all I had.
Okay. So is there an update on what's going on with contracts and that came from solid waste?
Oh,
Review
I'm
of
sorry.
those
I'm sorry.
contracts?
Thank you for
Okay.
reminding me of that.
Okay.
Yesterday was a really long day. I forgot to put that point in my report, and Nikki is going to provide that update. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was like, I think.
Question is whether or not I've reviewed the materials that were referenced when I'd given my initial opinions and then what my takeaway was there. Yeah, let me pull up my notes.
And why some counties can do it, but we can't.
That question
And if
is,
we don't know that yet, that's okay. I just wanted
Well,
the status report.
sure, I have an answer to that now, and then you guys can direct from there what you wish. How can other counties enforce MOUs or other contracts that require for delivery of solid waste at their facility only if we can't, is what I understand the question to mean. The question makes an assumption first, I'll point out, that may or may not be accurate, that the counties alluded to here are doing so lawfully. And I don't know that that assumption is accurate. But in arguendo, if it is accurate, then what I would need is a lot more information for any specific county to be able to opine whether or not we're really talking apples to apples. That's the answer in a nutshell to that question. I did review 53 pages of various service agreements and other documents that have been referenced. Many of them were not apples to apples, not analogous. thus did not change my opinion.
Okay.
I did, however, though, have question as to, for example, there was some agreements with Brown County and a couple of other counties that are joint together. And that goes back to, I would need more information to be able to know if that scenario is at all analogous to ours before I can opine whether or not there's a way that they're doing it we could sign on to.
Is that an example from Adams County?
I did not.
Okay. Because that's the one at least I'm hearing peripherally, but I don't know anything.
I haven't gotten any materials related to Adams County.
Okay.
The 53 pages that I reviewed, I did compile into one PDF in which I inserted comments and questions and my opinions throughout. And I'm happy to share that with any folks. Just email me if you want a copy of that work that I did.
Perfect. Thank you. I just said I'd check in, and since legal's under here, I wanted to get a little check in. So thank you.
I think right now my takeaway was that nothing is leading me to find, oh yeah, we can do this the way it's being proposed right now.
Okay.
But again, I don't have all the info and all the details in some of those counties. So if to get that detail, if folks wanted me to, then the next question would be who's doing the investigative work, the digging up of those materials, and whether or not you really want to task court counsel with that at my rate or employees or you.
Okay. Yes.
What's the significance of Adams County?
I have just been told that they can do it, and that why aren't we looking at that? I don't, so.
Laura mentioned that Stacey had said Adams County does it, so why can't we? But I haven't seen their, I don't have.
All we have to do is look under Adams County Solid Waste and Recycling. Their whole program is there, right down to we rent dumpsters cheaper than the competitors. It's all right there in black and white.
On their website.
On their website.
But that's not going to tell us like what the service agreements are and all.
Correct. It doesn't have the information I would need, and as on its face, it looks very concerning, but I am not going to be the one to say that they're doing something illegally. That's not for me to say, and I'm not their lawyer.
Okay. So that's why Adams came up.
Okay.
And it's sort of in this, like this was really at infrastructure committee, but because legal's under us, I just said, well, I'll ask for an update so we can all be informed.
I've also contacted through Lauren Oldenburg, their attorneys. They said that we are absolutely able to contract, but as far as demand flow, it will depend upon what ordinances we have on the books.
What have we got?
Well, I thought we had one, but then I guess we don't, so.
Lauren, you said through their attorneys, who's there? I didn't know if that was the legislature or if it's Adams counties.
Through whoever Lauren Oldenburg talked to in Madison.
Thank you. Okay.
And Brad Path is looking into it also.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you for the update. Any other questions for administrative report? Agenda items for next meeting? I'm sure it'll come up, but we didn't assign any today, I don't think. No, okay. Confirmation, April 3rd, next. Mary?
Me.
That, Mary.
Mary.
No, I just need to add to a statement I made earlier, so it's not incorrect. I said that was an 8% increase for the elected officials to start in 2025. It's an 8% for the clerk. It looks like it's 12% for the treasurer and register of deeds.
Okay.
And then beyond that is the 9% that comes at the end, towards the end.
So our next meeting is April 3rd at 9:30. I most likely will not be in attendance, or I will Zoom in. So Mary, can you share that?
Okay.
I don't know if I will be there either. I might be traveling.
Only
We
here.
want to look at a different.
Should we push it a week? I don't know.
That would be great.
help.
I could actually be there.
Fine for me.
Town plan is on Wednesday, but 10th.
Pushing it a week would be fine with me. That is the election day, right?
Oh, that's right, the day before.
Something else. Okay.
Yeah, Jared.
Then that could. Does the 10th work? I don't know. No.
Is that when
Advanced planning.
we scheduled the meeting for that day?
Huh?
I have it in my calendar.
It could be a different time.
Yes, it could be a different time.
When is our board meeting for April? The 16th?
Third Tuesday.
So that'd
It's
be
third
the
Tuesday.
Online past the April 10th at 9:30 a.m. on the
Yeah,
online.
I just missed it. I made it in my calendar.
the 9th, the 11th, later the 10th. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Good.
Your Dave's fine.
I should be good with any 3 dates or times.
I'm in court for the county on the 9th of April for the first half of the day.
The 9th, we have infrastructure committee and board of health. That's for me. That's for
But
me.
what about
Yeah.
after
We
that?
could do it. Yeah, we could do it in the afternoon on the 10th.
Could we do like a 2 o'clock on that? Would that work?
Yeah,
Be
work
great.
for me.
Okay,
Great.
so we're gonna do general government on April 10th, 2 p.m. Excellent.
Okay. Sounds good.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Again,
I'll second. All in favor, signify by aye.
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 Bye.
Thanks, everybody.